am Sue Webley. Welcome to another episode of Inspire. Hey, y'all. Listen, I love that intro music. This makes me happy. Welcome to another episode of Inspire. I am so glad that all of you are joining us. I see you coming in on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and on YouTube. I want to invite you to share our broadcast today because I'm so excited about our guests. We are celebrating Black excellence all month long, and our guest today is one that exudes Black excellence. So really excited about that. If you are just joining us for the very first time, welcome to you. Thank you for supporting this broadcast today. I am Sue Webley. I'm an author, producer, award-winning minister, and founder of Cara Solutions, a digital service agency that helps individuals and organizations navigate the virtual space with confidence. I believe, as many of you do, in the power of words, wisdom, and witness. And that's exactly what Inspire is all about. It is a live interview style broadcast that's on a mission to encourage, empower, and embolden individuals to create change in their lives, communities, and in the world. And if we ever need a change, we need some right now. So as our guests, our entrepreneurs, our influencers, our creatives, our thought leaders share their testimonies, tips, and tools with us, we hope that you are inspired to elevate your mindset, pursue your dreams, and to do as the late Dr. Katie Geneva Cannon put it so eloquently, the work your soul must have. Once again, we are live on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. And I want to invite you, if you haven't already done so, to connect, follow, like, and subscribe. Connect, follow, like, and subscribe. So we are on Inspire with Sue W on Facebook and Instagram. If you haven't already followed me there, please do so. There will be other platforms added, but for right now, do me a favor and follow me on those platforms. Also, I want to invite you to check out our website. Go to www.getinspired.live. There you can see all of our previous episodes. You can find out a little bit more about the show. And you can subscribe to our newsletter. We don't want you to miss anything that's happening with Inspire. And so we want to stay connected with you. And we invite you to go ahead and subscribe to our newsletter. So again, if you're just coming in, let me go over and check Instagram real quick. Hey, Instagram. Hey, Kazmir. It's so good to see you. Thank you for joining us on IG. If you're on IG, go ahead and shout yourselves out. If you're joining any other platform, go ahead and shout yourselves out so that I can greet you. Sorry. So as you see, I am not in my normal habitat. I am not home. I am traveling. I'm here in Knoxville, Tennessee, hanging out with the Children's Defense Fund. And we're at Alex Haley Farm doing some wonderful work on behalf of young people. And so, I did have to take this time to make sure that we were able to speak with the amazing Bridgette Donald-Blue this morning. And so I'll be heading over to the workshops and things after we end our time together today. And so, the question I always ask, what's in your cup? What are you sipping on? Is it water? Is it juice? Is it coffee? Is it tea? Is it a smoothie? Is it, listen, whatever it is something stronger. I don't, I'm not judging you because some of us need a little something stronger in our cup right about now. But y'all know I always have coffee in my cup. It is not mushroom coffee, which is my usual, but it is the wonderful bold coffee that they have here at the Fairfield. So shout out to the Fairfield by Marriott for not having watered down coffee. Hallelujah. Listen, we thank God for the coffee bean and all the things that we can do with this. I'm going to go ahead and take a sip. So if you're so inclined, go ahead, let me know what you are, where you're watching from. And even if you're watching this in the replay, you can still go ahead and do that, and what you are sipping on. We want to introduce our guest this morning, Bridgette Donald-Blue. Again, I said the epitome. Someone that exudes Black excellence. And I knew when I wanted to do this, listen, it's Black History Month, but we are blackity black 365 24/7, right? And so we're always celebrating Black excellence. But I wanted to really hone in on that. There's so many things that's coming against us right now, right? And I'm going to talk to Bridgette about it a little bit, the removal or the push to remove Black history from schools and stuff like that. And so I wanted to be really intentional about the guests that I had this month. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy that Bridgette is able to join us today from California. So I know it's early. It's early, girl. I know. I know it's early, and I'm so grateful that you are able to join us. Well, let me introduce her properly. Let me do that properly. Okay. So Bridgette is a lifelong educator, a passionate mentor, and a champion for equity in learning. With over 30 years of experience in the classroom, she has dedicated her career to shaping young minds, inspiring future educators, and ensuring that every child has access to a meaningful and transformative education. Her excellence in the field has not gone unnoticed. Bridgette has earned some of the highest honors in education, including being named Los Angeles County Teacher of the Year, LAUSD Teacher of the Year, and California Teacher of the Year for 2023. But she's not just teaching in the classroom. She's spreading knowledge far and wide through her platform, Letters from Mrs. Blue, a space dedicated to educating and empowering parents, teachers, and community leaders. Now, some of you who are Wheel of Fortune fans might have seen Bridgette when she was called in to step in for Vanna White. I love Wheel of Fortune. So you might have seen her when she was tapped on to step in for Vanna White. And so what started as an unexpected opportunity turned into a moment of national recognition, proving that her ability to educate, inspire, and lead extends far beyond the classroom. So today, we're going to be talking a little bit about her journey, her thoughts on education, on Black excellence, and the fight for inclusive learning. And of course, we'll hear more about what's next for this incredible force in education. As we prepare to meet Bridgette, let's take a look at her in action and what some of her kids have to say about her.
I am a 2023 California Teacher of the Year. There are 5 of us. And I can say that when I first heard, I thought, this is bananas. Because, I come to work every day and I do my best and I work hard. And I've been doing that for the last 30 years. But to have someone recognize that my hard work means something, that my hard work is contributing to something, I really, really appreciate that.
49, 48.
Oh, the students are so lucky because they feel the love.
they know right away that she has a passion for their learning and that she cares about them. And children know, and if children feel like you care, they're gonna step up and rise to the occasion. And so that connection makes a world of difference for our students.
She's very nice. She helps me learn and helps me fix my mistakes.
She helped me when I got stuck on stuff.
She's nice. She's a fun teacher. She makes learning fun. She's emotional. She's all of that good stuff.
What I admire about Miss Bridgette Blue is that she's such a humble person. She's very smart. She's very accomplished in what she's capable of doing. Her approach with everyone is one of kind humility and her generous, helpful spirit.
When a student has, or anyone has like really good self-esteem about their self, they try harder, they strive to do more. And I think that when Ms. Blue does that for the students, it gives them the confidence that they need, whether it's throughout the day or to get their day started.
When a child gets it, and you work after school with them and you get them to the point where they're recognizing all their sight words, they're recognizing spelling patterns, and they read. And they read words that they know orally, but all of a sudden they can capture it in a book. It's like lightning. It really is, because you know that they now can take complete ownership of their learning, and you know that their future is brighter because they are a reader and they can participate fully in society.
I feel very happy and proud, and it's been a pleasure to be in her classroom for her to help us, and I feel like she earned it.
She's been a really good teacher when I was in her class. And yeah, I want to be in her class again.
It makes me feel happy, and I am very proud of her.
Bridgette, welcome to Inspire.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. This is amazing. You are tremendous. So I love being invited to be here. This is fantastic.
Oh my goodness. And I'm so thank you for all of what you do. Thank you for the work that you are doing with our young people. It is evident from that video that one, they love you, but you are truly making a difference.
Yes, I love them. I love my students, both the ones I have now, the ones I've had in the past. And there's nothing like being in a store and having a student walk up to you. And I had a young man come up to me a few years ago, and 6'5", amazing kid. I taught him in the 4th grade, and he heard my voice, and he walked over from 2 aisles over and was like, "Miss Blue?" I was like, "Yes." And he was like, "Oh, you have to meet my fiance." And it's like, "Oh, this is fantastic." And God is good. I looked him in the face. I knew exactly what his name was, even though he was in his 20s. It had been years ago. So
Yeah.
it's really, really amazing. And I always tell my students, once you're in my class, once you're part of our family, you're always a part of our family. So if you need me, seek me out, let me know what I can do to help you. And it's just great to be a teacher.
Yeah. You never forget the teacher that made a difference in your life. And it's always that one teacher that you could always look back on and say, you know what, had it not been for, so I know there's so many students that are saying, had it not been for Mrs. Blue, maybe I wouldn't be on the trajectory that I'm on right now. So thank you again.
And Sue, it's so funny you say that. When I think about that teacher for me, it's definitely Miss Tanner. She's passed on now, but as a 1st grader, she was tall. She wore these jumpsuits all the time, and she always had a scarf tied around her neck, and she had a beautiful afro. And for me as a little 1st grader, she looked like Barbie, and she was just amazing.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Before we get started, what are you sipping on today, Bridgette?
I am sipping on chamomile lavender tea.
Oh, wait, I need to see this cup. And while you tell us about what's in it, let's look at this cup. It says Melanin Queen. I love it.
Yes. I had to find the perfect cup to be on the show.
I love that. And chamomile lavender sounds very relaxing.
Yes, very relaxing. It's been a long day here, Sue, and a long week here. We
Uh-huh.
had rains in California, and as you know, when it rains, school is a different kind of animal when it's raining, and so
Yeah.
it was a long week. So it's nice to be able to relax. Plus, it's Girl Scout cookie season here as well, and
Uh-huh.
we have Girl Scouts. Well, our oldest daughter just graduated,
Mhm.
so we still have Girl Scout in the house, and it's a long week.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Despite that long week, despite the rains, despite Girl Scout cookie season, you were here hanging out with us in Inspire, and we appreciate it. So, your original plan was to become a lawyer, right?
Yes.
You didn't initially have this a desire to teach. But you said in your bio, in the information on your website, that Teach for America changed everything. So, what was about that experience that made you say, this is where I belong and commit to education?
You know, for me, it was the connections that I was making to the community and with my students and their families. I had the opportunity to attend Howard University. And at Howard, I had a professor, Dr. Boykin, who encouraged us to not just write a check, be a
Mm,
part of change. Do your part to be a part of change. And he taught us that, what is it that you're going to do to help the community? What will be your part to further us along? And I thought about that, and that's why I initially joined Teach for America, and I was only going to do it for 2 years, as you know.
mhm.
And then it was somewhere around that third year, and I was thinking, can I defer law school for 2 more years? Because I just love what I was doing with my students. And when it hit me was I was teaching third grade, and I was trying to figure out how to write knowledge game questions
Mhm.
for my third graders that I had been practicing on the LSAT. I was like, I want to see if I can write knowledge game questions for them. And I thought, okay, this is where I need to be. If I'm trying to figure out how to get them to this level, this is
Yeah.
definitely where I need to be.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Chuck Hunt, I see you checking in from Monroe, Louisiana. Good morning, Angela Austin. It's so good to see you. There's a host of people on. There's is that you? Let's see. Rev Travis on. FNAT Blue is on. Listen, the people are on Instagram, and I see a lot of you on YouTube. So I don't know who you are unless you shout yourself out. So shout yourself out so that I can shout you out as well. Thank you for joining us for our conversation with the amazing Miss Blue today. So, Bridgette, you have over 30 years at this point, right, of experience in the classroom. And I know that you've seen many shifts in education, right? You've seen it evolve in so many ways. What would you say is one major shift that has excited you, and one that concerns you?
A major shift that has excited me as far as we're concerned here is naming the community schools, having a platform. When I grew up in Florida, and for me, it was always about school and community because those were interconnected. I can remember going to school Monday through Friday, but also on Saturday, the African American teachers that taught in the schools would also teach us on Saturday. And then there was Sunday school. And so there was a big connection between the community and the school itself. What excited me was having the community schools initiative and push to bring the community in more and have a space for everybody to, because we all know it takes a village. Every child that I have had that has been tremendously successful, I didn't do it by myself. I did it with the help of their parents, sometimes their coaches, sometimes their therapist. It has been a partnership. And so when you look at the community of schools, it formalizes more and gives structure to the idea of we all come together for the best and to provide the best we can for these children. So that definitely has excited me.
Yeah. And what is something that, and I know we're going to talk about some concerning things that's happening a little later on, but what is something that a shift that you've seen that has concerned you?
right now, I think, and I know we're going to get to it, but it's so big. I think the shift away from honoring
Mhm.
everybody's contribution to the world is concerning. It's and what's interesting, when you played the video, one of my colleagues, Kashunda, talked about how if you support a child's self-esteem, if you tap into a child's self-esteem, how they work hard and how, you know, they see themselves in the curriculum that you provide. They feel that they belong. And all of us want to belong. All of us want to be a part of something. We're human beings. We know that we work better when we're together. And so when you try to strip away or isolate or even lie about the contributions that certain groups have made, that's very concerning to me. Because now kids that would see themselves in curriculum, they no longer do that.
Yeah.
Kids that would have an opportunity to feel like a full participant are no longer able to do that. And so that to me is really concerning. An example of that is I remember being in fourth grade. I remember reading a textbook that talked about the civics. It was going around the idea of how we put together a society, and they talked about the different things that support people. And I just remember that they did not shed a, how do I want to say it, a positive light on people who look like me and
Mm.
what our contributions are. And in fact, it talked about how people who look like me, we just pull away from society. And I still remember that, even as a woman in my 50s. I remember that information and how that was an opportunity to build me up. That was an
Mm.
opportunity to make me stronger, but it didn't. It took away from who I was at that time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. Abby Woods, I see you. Thank you for joining us. Yes, everyone is definitely better when we work together. And I think that given there was a time where, it was hard to kind of get people to come to, there was a time where we kind of struggled with getting everyone to kind of be on board with each other, where we struggled with kind of adopting that village mentality, right? That's something that we got away from,
Right. Right.
right? And I, you know, given the current climate, I think we are now seeing a shift with many of us now trying to lean back into this village mentality, because we truly do need each other to survive. That's one of my favorite songs by Hezzy. But we need each other
Yes.
to
Yes.
survive.
We absolutely do. And you're right. So we did get away from, or we had trouble bringing people in. But I think it was because we didn't demonstrate the power that parents have. We did not demonstrate that they are their child's very first teacher. I knew that as a single teacher when I was just starting out, but I know that 10 times over as a mom. But we did not demonstrate how important that was. I'm reminded of a gentleman that I was teaching his son in fourth grade, and the kids, we were doing long division. And anybody who's taught fourth grade long division, you know that can be a bear. And there was a few kids that just weren't getting it, more than a few actually. And a little boy was doing a certain procedure and strategy. And I said to him, I said, "Where did you learn that?" He said, "My dad." And he tried to show it to me a couple of times, and I wasn't getting it. And I am not afraid to say, "I'm not understanding this." And I asked his dad to come in. And he told the secretary, he said, I don't want to come in. I don't speak English. And I said, "Tell him we will work together to come in." So that gentleman came in with a suit and tie. He taught those kids the procedure he had for long division. I can still see the smile on his son's face, the way the other children reacted to him. And he was so proud. And I have to tell you, there was some boys in the class who got his way of the procedure of doing it. They did not understand what I was teaching them. And we celebrated and honored both ways of doing it. Since that time, I have learned it. I've shared it with other students, but it was a way that he learned it in his home country. But it's that things like that we need to celebrate parents, volunteers, and have them come into this space, because everybody has something to contribute, and these children need it and they deserve it.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Welcome once again, those of you who have joined us. We are having conversation with the amazing Bridgette Blue. If you have a question or a comment for Bridgette, please go ahead and post it. I invite you to do so. Want to make sure she's able to address that question, if you have one, before we leave our time together today. And it's already been so rich, Bridgette. So thank you again for joining us.
Yeah.
So we are celebrating Black history, but also Black excellence, right? And so as an educator, you are literally shaping the next generation of Black leaders. So Bridgette, what does Black excellence mean to you, and how do you instill it in your students?
Black excellence just means that, well, not just, sorry. Black excellence is when you bring your authentic self to the table, when you are living in your truth, whatever that is, and understanding that you were beautifully and wonderfully made by God, and you bring all of that and you express yourself. I feel that that is Black excellence, because success is defined in different ways by different people. But I always believe that excellence is when you are authentic, when you're trying hard, when you are celebrating yourself and honoring yourself by knowing that you can accomplish anything, and you give that to other people. And so I try hard to give that to my students, and I give them the idea of the power of yet. No, when I taught first grade, I had scores of kids who couldn't tie their shoes. And they would say, "Teacher, I can't." I'm like, "Not yet, not yet, but you will." And so giving them the understanding that, sure, right now you can't tie your shoes. When our youngest daughter was growing up, at the first not tying shoes, we put Velcro on her and we kept practicing. But there are ways you can still put on shoes, you can still walk around. But what I try to have my students understand is be your excellent self, whatever that is, and honor the things that are great about you. We just looked at some art by Basquiat, and I was telling my students, he did it his way. And I'm sure there were people that were saying, "Oh, I don't understand this. Oh, this is this way. Oh, this is that way." And I loved how he kept expressing himself the way he felt like. And all those years now, all these years later, we're celebrating him. And just think of what would have happened if he would have stopped and tried to put himself in the box that other people wanted to put him in. And so I tell my students, be yourself. Even if nobody else walks that road with you, be your authentic self, because then you won't have regrets.
Yeah, I love that. Be yourself. Be yourself. I love be yourself. And I also love that you talked about the power of yet, right? Because many of us, and I know, kind of coming even now as an adult, but as a child, we want to get it right. We have this desire to get it. And I remember once for those of you that watch Sesame Street, there was this whole song about the power of yet with Janelle Monáe. And I preached that. I preached about the power of yet, using that on the show Big Bird and Abby Cadabby and all of these all of the other characters on Sesame Street working, Grover,
Right.
working to try to get something done, right? And wanting to give up.
Right.
But you will never get to yet if you give up. And so I thank you for instilling that in our young people. Thank you so much, Bridget. Abby has a question.
Okay.
Abby said, "What was it like?" We talked about this at the beginning. Well, I mentioned it at the beginning. What was it like to fill in for Vanna White on the Wheel of Fortune?
First of all, I have to be very transparent. I almost didn't do it. When they when they called me, because like you, they'd seen videos online and they said, first of all, they needed me to come in the next day. And when they called me, I kept thinking, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be on national television. Oh, I don't know if I want to do this. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. But it was interesting. The woman hooked me when she said, oh, and you can bring your children. And I thought, okay, I can't have my daughters miss this opportunity. As weird as that sounds, that's what I went to. I was like, I can't have my daughters miss this opportunity. So I had to push down my fears, push down my thinking that, oh my gosh, what if this doesn't go well? And just walk in and do it. And it was amazing the day that I did it. It was amazing taping the shows. They were the family I didn't know I had. Every person on that staff is a class act. They are so supportive and so welcoming. And it was just wonderful to be in the space. And so it was fun learning it. It's much harder than you would ever imagine, much harder. You do more walking than you would ever. And if I could have kept my Fitbit on, because I had to take watches and stuff off, but if I had kept it on, I would have been able to track how many steps. But when I left, I could feel it in my body. It was just much harder than you would ever imagine. But what's interesting, Sue, was afterwards, the people who reacted to me, a couple people came to my school to give me presents. And I'll never forget this one lady who came to my school and she wanted to see my classroom and she reached out and touched my hand. And she said to me, she was like, you will never know what it meant to see you in that space, to see you on that stage. She said, that meant everything to me. She said, as a woman in my 70s, she said, I didn't know if I would ever see that. That meant everything to me. And then I learned that I was the first person, a non-industry person, to step in for Vanna White in a very, very long time. And so and I thought about it, I said, really, they really haven't had substitutes for Vanna White. So I was the substitute, and it was an amazing thing. And I got stopped in the grocery store, and when I went home to Florida, people were stopping me like, was that? Yeah, that was me. It was been amazing.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, Vanna been doing this thing for a long time, but I can't think of a better substitute. So thank you for saying yes. Thank you for saying yes. Angela says, oh, Angela, okay, so Angela works with you doing professional development for teachers. Thank you, Angela, for joining us. She said, I really enjoyed when Sesame Street did those videos. So many were great. Use them in my classroom. Actually, I still do. Yeah, shout out to Sesame Street. They tried to cancel Sesame Street, but yeah.
Oh my.
There's so much we can say
Yes.
about all this stuff, but we are going to take a quick break for me to do some housekeeping and for Bridget to get a sip of her tea in while it's still a little bit warm. We'll be right back with more conversation with the amazing Bridgette Blue. Thank you all for joining us. Before I get to housekeeping, I need to shout out Anna Deshawn for this shirt. Let me take this off so you can see what it says. All right. Tell your story. Thank you, Anna Deshawn, for the sweatshirt. Telling our story is so vitally important. And especially as Black folk, we should be telling our story. Don't let anyone stop you from sharing your story, right? No matter what that story entails. Hardship, trauma, tell it. It will help to save somebody else's life. So thank you, Anna Deshawn, for this sweatshirt. And I will, if you want one, I will drop that link down into the chat for you all. I want to invite you again to connect, follow, like, and subscribe. Follow us on Inspired with Sue W on Facebook and Instagram. You can also head over to our website at www.getinspired.live. There you can find out all about the show. You can catch up on all of our previous episodes, and you can subscribe to our newsletter. We don't want you to miss anything that's happening with Inspire, and so we invite you to do that. Are you or someone you know on a mission to create change while inspiring others to do the same? Well, guess what? I want you to be in the seat with me. I want to talk to you on a future episode of Inspire. If that's you or someone you know, you can visit our website and fill in your intake information right on the website so that a member of our team can get back to you to book your appearance on the show. Also, we do this every episode. So our sibling in the community needs a kidney donor. She, Pastor Yanni, Reverend Yanni, the peace pastor, just Yanni, however you know her, she needs a kidney donor. She's in search of potential donors who are fairly healthy, who have the blood types A or O, and the courage to commit to surgery to help save her life. She'd love to share the safety measures with you. If you are so inclined, please reach out to Yanni and her family at peacepeopleinc@gmail.com. That's peacepeopleinc@gmail.com. You could also head over to emerylivingdonor.org, fill out the survey, and enter her name, Ayana Davis. If you are someone that has resources that we may not know about, right, in terms of helping her to get a kidney, I invite you to also share those resources with us so that we can get them over to Yanni. Let's do this thing in community together. We're about to come back with some conversation with Bridgette Donald-Blue. Bridgette, welcome back. Thank you for joining us again on Inspire. It's been such an honor hanging out with you today.
Thank you. I am honored to meet you. And I told you earlier, like, you are amazing. And so to have this opportunity to meet you and to be on your show, wow, that's great.
That means so much to me. And I thank all of you, again, our social media audience, those who are live right now and who will catch us in the replay. We are glad that you are here hanging out with us. And so, Bridgette, now we got to get into some of the things that have been concerning us. We touched on it earlier, but I want to dig a little deeper into that topic if you're willing to do that with us today. So across the country, we've seen efforts to remove Black history from the school curriculums.
Right.
What can we do? You share some more of your thoughts with us, your thoughts about this with us. And also, do you have an idea of what we can do to ensure our history is not erased?
Thank you for this opportunity. One thing that I know we can do, and which was something that I experienced growing up, we need to lean on ourselves and know that we do want our history taught in schools, because knowing our history, it's American history, and it betters everyone. Everyone is uplifted and supported and well educated when they know the entirety of the American history, when they know the full story. Your shirt says tell your story. There is a danger if there's only one story told. There's a danger when you leave something or someone out. I often I said before, for many years I taught fourth grade, and one of the ways I love to teach in fourth grade, you learn about electricity. And when we talk about Thomas Edison, I always draw this head on my whiteboard, but then I put little things on the side. And one of the things I put on the side is Lewis Latimer, because Lewis Latimer had the patent for the filament. And if he had not join that collaboration, the lights that we have in our homes, we don't know how long it would have taken for that to actually happen, because he was a tremendous mind, an incredibly brilliant man. And he was the one that came up with the filament. And so Lewis Latimer was an African American gentleman. And so I tell my students, it takes everyone to make us better. And also, when you think about the danger of just a single story, we need everybody's contribution. And if you just have one person's narrative, one person's information, there's no inspiration for other people. We can't be inspired to move further, go, do greater things without being able to understand that people did this before us and
Yeah.
how well they did it before us. You asked me what we can do, and I said, lean on ourselves. When I was growing up, I remember having Saturday school at church. I remember going to different conferences or events put on by church organizations or by sororities and fraternities, and where I learned a lot of things that, in the 80s and late 70s, they weren't teaching a lot about Black history in school. And so most of what I learned before I got to Howard University was taught to me by, I have an aunt that was a lifelong Delta. And I learned a lot from events that her chapter put on. I learned a lot from things that happened at church and Saturday school and Sunday school, and they taught us. And so we will need to go back to that. Yes, we definitely need to push to continue to have it in schools. And those of us who have the opportunity to be in this seat in a classroom, it is our obligation to make sure we tell the full story. But for those of us who are wondering how we can make sure it's better, I know we can definitely make sure that our children get it when we share it in our communities.
Yeah. I'm reminded. Thank you for that. I'm reminded of the TED Talk by Shamanda Ngozi
Yes.
Adichie, The
Yeah.
Danger of a Single Story. I love that TED Talk, and she really lays out how dangerous it
Yes.
is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you'll have kids walking around thinking that only certain people can be in a book, thinking only certain people's story needs to be told, and thinking that we can be successful if we only know one story. And that's simply not true.
Thank you for that. So this leads right into um, my next question. There have been this ongoing discussions, right? Threats even, about dismantling the U.S. Department of Education, which would shift control entirely to the individual states. And so we know that this could have a profound impact, right, on federal funding, on civil rights protections, and educational equity, particularly for those who are in unserved and underserved communities.
Correct.
And so, can you share with us a little bit about the concerns that you have about this potential shift and the impact that it would have on teachers and students nationwide?
I have major concerns about the shift. Major. Because, and there are programs that the federal Department of Education, or U.S. Department of Education, funds for states and for schools. There are unique things. And if you think about it like this, if you think about the state funds some things, and maybe if you're building a salad, the state, maybe they fund the lettuce or the tomatoes. But the U.S. Department of Education, they bring in other things that just makes the school program itself better. They may bring in the croutons, and they may bring in the bacon bits. They bring in all the things that create this amazing curriculum, this amazing school experience for children. I know that there are for special education, there are things that come directly from the U.S. Department of Education. I know that, like you said, different programs for civil rights, different programs for understanding and learning about health and safety come directly from the U.S. Department of Education. And I feel that if those things are gone, if those protections are gone, and we're just relying on states to do it, I don't know what that looks like. And I don't know, if you are not mandated to teach certain things across the United States, if you're living in one state, you'll learn something, but if you move, you may not get that. And these are things that are put together to make sure we as an American citizenry, we are better. We are doing our very best. And so it's important that we have that. It's important that we know, there's certain things that need to happen. And so, and I know I say certain things, but it's, the way children are educated that need to learn the language, the way special education children are educated, and making sure that the information in their IEPs gets addressed. Those things, when we have those mandates, those things are important. And I think we need to make sure that that happens.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's certainly a lot for us to be concerned about. And just following up with that, we were looking at the removal of, diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? Initiatives at the federal level, right? And so we're seeing this growing resistance to conversations about DEI in education, right? And so you have dedicated your career to shaping these young minds, and so what are some of the additional risks of eliminating DEI programs in schools, and how do you think it would impact students from, again, these unserved and underserved communities?
It goes back to that single story. If you take away DEI initiatives, it goes, you just don't have all of the people, all of the stories included that bring the tapestry to life. Think about how boring it would be if you just had a quilt of just one color, and how, you don't have everybody included. And I think that when you strip away DEI, when you strip away diversity, when you make sure that only one story is told, it's to the detriment. It absolutely is to the detriment, because going back to what my colleague Kashanda said, that when children can see themselves, it provides a lift to their self-esteem. It lets them know they belong, and everybody wants to belong. And think about how great you feel when you get home and how you're like, this is where I belong. Or when you're around your family, or maybe you're with your friends and you're comfortable and you can let your guard down because you know that everybody there cares for you. That's what happens when students feel like they belong, when students see themselves in the curriculum, when students know that their culture and language is celebrated and not seen outside of society. When you bring in a book that and I've experienced this, I've brought in books, and my husband speaks Spanish. And so sometimes when I'm trying to read a book, I have him help me practice, because when I walk into the classroom, I don't want that deficit that I have to impact my students. So I'll practice the book, so the parts that are in Spanish, I can say them properly. And my little students, their eyes just light up. And sometimes they come over and in the years past, they'll try to say things to me. I'm like, hold on. Like, I'm not there yet. But I know that it's my own deficit. So I definitely believe that it's important for us to have that, so children can, I know I keep saying this, they can see themselves, and they can know how important they are, and they can know that we are here for them. And I think, again, without the DEI, we run the risk of not having our village. we run the risk of the village feeling like it's not welcomed.
Mhm.
And that's certainly not true, because we absolutely need them. We absolutely need parents, volunteers, other parts of the community to come in so that everyone can be a part of shaping the next generation.
Yes, yes. I imagine that with so much happening right now, there's a lot of anxiety and uncertainty, and a wondering of what can I do, what role can I play, how can I fix this,
Mhm,
right?
mhm, mhm.
And I know that parents are kind of feeling it as well, particularly Black parents.
Yes.
And so that means, hey, the village may not be a public one.
Right, right. But also, Sue, I want to say this. If you're wondering how you can help, you, even if you're not a parent, you may be an uncle. I had an amazing uncle, Uncle Ronald, who read to me. And he was part of the reason why I was a reader at 4, because he read to me. And he used all these voices. He made everything exciting for me. And I can still hear him. Even though he's passed on, I can still hear him. But more importantly, he made me feel so special, and he saw me. I was seen. And that, for a little girl in rural Florida, that was huge. That he made me feel seen. As if you're, like I said, if you're wondering what you can do, volunteer at your school, volunteer your local schools. It can be one day a month. There is a child in that school who needs to see you. When I became California Teacher of the Year, we had opportunities for camera crews to visit our school. And one of the students got really interested in the people that were holding the lights, in the people that were doing things to make sure my lighting was great, and the cameraman and all that. And he said to me, he said, "Miss Blue, what are they doing?" And I said, "I don't know, Jason. Ask them what they're doing." He was so intrigued. I told the gentleman, I said, "When you guys get ready to walk out, I'm going to send him to let you know how to get out of the school, just to give an opportunity to continue to talk." And he was so intrigued by what they did. It You never know what it is that's going to spark joy, spark an interest in a child. And no matter what you do, bring it to school. Come to school, play your guitar. Come to school, show children how to draw something. Come to school, tell them funny jokes. Come to school, rap for them. Give them a rap that you've learned. Teach them how to write their own lyrics. It is so important. And like I said, you don't have to come every week. Come once a month. Pick one day a month. Connect with a teacher, connect with a school, and go in and share your talent. I promise you, you're going to get more out of it than the kids do, but there are going to be kids there that the mere fact that you're in that space is going to uplift them. And it's going to show them, hey, I can do this. It's like I recently was on YouTube and I saw these 3 doctors, and African American doctors, and they were talking about how they get stopped. People want to chat with them, or when they see the face of a child that comes into the off when they come into the room, and the kids are like, "Wow, like he looks like me." And I want to take you back a little bit more. Remember the picture of President Obama leaning his head forward so the little boy can touch his hair?
Yeah.
Because the little boy was like, he looks like me. I need further just a further understanding. Can I touch him? Yes, that's what my hair feels like. And so be a volunteer, go into the schools, connect with the people that are there. Whatever your talent is, you can take it to the school, and there will be somebody there to receive it. And better yet, there's going to be a child that needs it.
Representation truly does matter.
Yes.
Ooh, I'm inspired. Listen, I'm about to call a school right now. But I love that because again, some people don't know what they can do.
Right.
And being able to volunteer at a school, and it's any skill, right?
Any skill, any skill,
Any skill
any
that you
skill,
have.
any skill, any talent. It makes, again, going back to Black excellence, it's your authentic self.
Yeah.
So if you're doing magic tricks, if you're juggling, whatever it is, there's going to be a child that connects with that. We had a cartoonist come in one time, and a child was so connected to the fact that that doodling that they do on every page, that can take you somewhere. That can be a career for you. And that was so powerful for him to see someone that looked like him and was doing that.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know I'm inspired. And I hope that all of you who are viewing and will catch this in the replay are inspired as well to go out and do something.
Yes.
Go out and do something. Touch a child today. And listen, find a school in your neighborhood.
Yes.
Find a school in your neighborhood, especially because a lot of those programming, like the arts programs and stuff like that, are pulled from the schools. And so
Right.
they certainly do need to see one of you
Right.
standing in front of them, letting them know that, yeah, whatever that talent is, whatever their passion is, they can do it. They
Right.
can do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And Sue, you mentioned standing in front of them. It reminded me, going back to the power of not just having a single story,
Yeah.
just your mere presence.
Mm.
Your mere presence changes that story for all the kids, not just the African American kids or the Hispanic kids or the Asian kids. It changes it for all of the kids because you're standing there, you're doing this tremendous thing that maybe they were never told that a person that looks like you can do. And just your presence changes that story.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, Bridgette. We know that teaching is a demanding profession. As much as you love it and as passionate as you are about it, it is demanding, right? And so, on top of that on top of your advocacy, speaking, everything that you do, how do you prioritize your self care? And what advice do you have for other educators and leaders who struggle to make time for themselves?
It's interesting that you asked this question. I was just talking to a teacher yesterday, a young teacher that I've been mentoring, and she was staying late. And I said to her, "How many days a week are you staying late?" I said, "I'm going to give you some advice that I did not learn. I'm still struggling to learn it on a lot of fronts." I said, "But how how often do you stay late?" And she was like, "Oh, but I have so much to do." I said, "Okay, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to pick 2 days a week. There are 5 school days. I need you to pick 2 days a week where you go home on time. Or, and when you pick those 2 days, once you've mastered those 2 days a week where you go home on time, then pick a third, because you should only be staying late 2 days a week. And then as you move further, make it 1 day a week that you're staying late." Because I had a principal years ago, Miss Goins, and she would say, "Oh, you young teachers, you're never," she was so funny, "you're never going to find a husband if you're in this classroom late at night. You guys need to go home. You need to you get out of here." And so she was right. Making sure that you do have, you're making, family connections and community connections. And if you're doing nothing else than walking on the beach, or going and having a nice glass of wine, or going to a museum and sitting and looking at the beauty in the museum, all of that is so important. I was reminded about, there's a book called Parker Looks Up, about a little girl that saw First Lady Michelle Obama's portrait hanging in the museum, and how she was so inspired. And there's something about seeing those great works and how they do transform us, and they add to our our well-being, our social emotional well-being. And so, yeah, that's important. So I'm still learning. I'm still, I'm in progress on that, but I've been encouraging younger teachers, don't get in this rut where you think it will never get done. Just put a pin in it, pause it, and come back the next day, so that you can, you can be rested and you can give your all again.
Yes, thank you so much. And that's a lesson for any of us in any profession, right? Those of us who tend to pour our whole selves
Right.
into our work. Uh, Go home early. Take a break.
Take
Go
a
home
break.
on time. Never early. Take a break. Go home on time. Laquita is here. And yeah, she agrees with you. She said, I stayed almost every day. She's a former teacher, and she stayed almost every day.
Yes.
Stayed late almost every day in the classroom. Nate Blue is on saying that you are the best. Thank you, Nate, for joining us. And Angela Austin, I'm looking for this link. It's not on the website anymore, but I will find it and make sure that I get you the link. So hopefully it's not been discontinued, but I will find that link and make sure that I get it to you. If you be so kind as to, if you're on Facebook, just inbox us at Inspire, or you can email us at Sue and Inspire, get inspired.live with your information so I can get that link to you. Bridgette, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been such an inspiration and an honor to have you with us. What is next for you, and how can we support?
Well, next for me is I'm going to continue to travel and speak to teachers, to parents, to community. But also next for me, and I have the tremendous support of my family and an amazing person in Abby Woods. Next for me is writing a book. And there's two that are kind of neck and neck in the works. And I just need to sit down, pull it together, and just put it out there. And it is just, I'm excited about it. And I'm excited about finding the time to do it. But there are people who have encouraged me to tell my story. And so, yes, that's what I'm doing next, is
Uh,
doing a book, continuing to speak to teachers, to families. And, people ask me, it's so funny, when I was on Wheel of Fortune, I had somebody come up to me. No, I'm sorry. That's not when it was. After I got California Teacher of the Year, I was in Lakeshore buying something for my class. And these two teachers came over to me and they said, "Are you California Teacher of the Year, Bridgette Blue?" I said, "Yes." And she was like, "I was wondering what would be the best book to buy for my kids for," I forgot the subject she was teaching. And I walked over, I said, "Okay, yes, I can help." And so, it's those kind of opportunities to really lend my expertise and share what I know so that the next generation can, continue to be inspired to do this work. But Sue, I have to tell you, when I get to mentor new teachers, the next generation of teachers, they are so dynamic, so amazing. We're in good hands. We're in good hands. We just need to support them and make sure that they have access to all the tools that they need to do the work. But they are dynamic, uh, energized, and incredibly crazy smart. And we just want to make sure that they have what they need to do the work.
Yes, thank you again for joining us today. If you want to find out all about Mrs. Bridgette Donald-Blue, head over to our website at lettersfrommrsblue.com. That's lettersfrommrsblue.com to find out all about Bridgette, to follow her, and listen, we're going to have you back when you get those books written.
Oh, Sue, that's amazing. Thank you. I gotta tell you, midway, I kind of got my jitters out, my nervousness. I was really nervous about being on your podcast because I looked at the ones you've done before and I was like, oh my gosh, she's so amazing. So yeah, I hope this came off well because there was a lot of nerves at the beginning.
No, well, listen, we couldn't tell that you were nervous at all. And yes, listen, you are the epitome of Black excellence
Oh,
to
thank you.
me. And
Thank you.
we are praying. I know we are all touching and agreeing and praying that you are able to continue doing the amazing work that you're doing on behalf of our children, on behalf of other educators and parents. Thank you so much for your passion and your advocacy. And we pray that you have the strength to continue to do all of
Thank you.
that.
Thank
Yes,
you.
and we will
That
have you back. Yeah.
that makes me feel good. And I don't know if you read in my bio, I was raised by my great grandmother, Odessa Cunningham. And when I think about doing things and working hard, I think about, does this please her? Will this make her smile? And also, when I'm teaching kids in my class, I see my own children and I say, what would I want for my own daughters? And it's important to make sure that you're giving your very best, because that's what every child deserves.
Yeah. Thank you, Mrs. Blue. Thank you, all of you who have joined us on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and YouTube, and who will catch this in the replay. Until we meet again, I want you to stay lifted. I want you to stay motivated. And most of all, I want you to stay inspired. We will see you again next week.